Hello everyone. Today I will show you how to use GitHub Actions to execute a script on a remote VM or remote machine on the cloud, for example, that is accessible via the internet via SSH, and this upon a trigger. So what is GitHub Actions? GitHub Actions is in fact a tool built in GitHub that will let you automate tasks like testing, building, or deploying your code. It will run what we call workflows that we will define later, and these workflows will be triggered by events like pushing code, pulling code, publishing releases, etc. So first of all, we will talk about the requirements, what you'll need to use GitHub Actions. First of all, you need a GitHub repo with some code, with a project, for example. I will illustrate this tutorial with a project of mine, an attendance web app, and then you also need a machine accessible from the internet via SSH. I'm connected via SSH to a virtual machine on Oracle Cloud. This is a machine I took for my web app. And then also you need a script that you will execute upon the trigger that you will define later. For example, my script here is deploy SH. So now we'll start by creating on our machine a pair of public and private keys to ensure the connection via SSH from GitHub. If you already have a pair of keys, I recommend to generate a new one because it will be more secure and you can revoke key for a specific service without impacting other services that will use another pair of keys. To generate a key, we will use the following command. So now it will prompt you to choose where to save this key. So we'll call it this ID RSA get tuto. For the passphrase, we'll leave it empty again, and then the key is created. Now we need to append to tell this machine to use the public key as an authorized key, so we need to append the public key to authorized keys. We'll use this command here. We'll append them to the file called authorized keys. So now that the public key is appended to the list of authorized keys, I will talk about the script and the project. So the project is a web app deployed on Kubernetes, and upon pushing a new version to the GitHub repo, I wanted to build jar files for my backend, build my front end, create a push, create and push new Docker images, and restoring the deployment so that all changes take effect. Now what you will need to make sure is to make your script executable with the chmod command. And then now we're done with the machine, let's configure our workflow. So now we will talk about the workflow I will use. It is a YAML file called deploy.yaml. It follows a specific syntax. At the top we have the name of our workflow. I called it deploy to Oracle Cloud VM. Then here we have the trigger section. That's where you configure your trigger. I configure it to execute when I push code to the repo. That's what push means. You can use another trigger like schedule, which will run the GitHub action, the workflow at certain times that you will define via crons, and then you can have a pull request as a trigger or a release. So when you update a release or publish a new release, this GitHub action will trigger. So after triggering, these jobs will execute. I called my job deploy, and it will run on a Ubuntu runner on GitHub servers. So the first step of our job is to check out code. This will make the code available to our runner. Then we'll have a Appleboy SSH action version 1.0.0. This is the GitHub Actions that we will let us use and connect to our remote VM via SSH and run the script. So it will use this GitHub action with these variables, a host, which will be our VM IP, username, which will be the username of our account on the VM of our user, and then the key, which will be the private key that we just generated before. And then here the script, that's the script that the GitHub Actions workflow will execute upon triggering. You need to note that these variables here, host, username, and key, these are called secrets, and we will add them later to our GitHub repo secrets section, so as to not expose them publicly. So now you need to go to your GitHub repo and click add a file, create new file, and then here you need to be careful. You need to follow the exact naming that I will provide here. So .github/workflows, and then here you will name your file as you want. I would call it deploy.yaml. And then here in the file contents section, I will just copy paste my workflows. We will commit changes, creating deploy, that's good, commit changes. Now that our changes are committed, we will need to go to settings so as to add our secrets. We will click on secrets and variables, actions, then we will add repository secrets. Now you need to make sure to give the exact names that are on your workflow for your variables. So here we have the variable called VM host, and I will give it my value. So we click add secret. Then we will add a new one that is called VM user. The VM user is called Ubuntu. And then the final one, which will be the private key of our VM. Now to consult your private key, you need to go to your VM, use the cats.ssh, and then the name of your key. It will be here. You need to copy paste everything. And I will call it SSH private key. So now we are all set up. I will try to push some code and we will see the GitHub action triggering. I will try to modify this README file. I will add something at the end. This is for YouTube. And then we will save and then push the code. Now our code is pushed. You can, to follow the execution of the GitHub Actions, go to Actions here, and then you can see the workflow is executing. So now, as you can see, the workflow has been successfully triggered and it's successfully executed. You can see more details, setup job, you can see all the logs, and what is important here is the SSH and run deploy script. That's where we will see what the VM returned. You can see here it's building the jar files, it is creating the Docker images, then exporting them, pushing them to the registry, and then you can see finally it is restarting the deployments. As you can see, it works, and we successfully triggered a script on a remote VM just by a push to our GitHub repo. So this is the end of this video. I hope you liked it and that it was informative for you. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to push that subscribe button, it will help me a lot, and then to like this video. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.